Welcome to Fit Club Vegas, the ultimate fitness destination for visitors. Drop in for a day pass and experience our 10,000 square foot fitness playground. At Fit Club, you'll find state-of-the-art equipment and a sound system so good you'll ditch your headphones. Conveniently located 7 to 12 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, Fit Club is a perfect spot for you to come get your pump while visiting Sin City. So come check us out at 4525 West Hacienda, Las Vegas, Nevada. Fit Club Vegas, more than a gym, it's a vibe.
All right, so we're back, man. Another episode of Cutler Cast, but this is finally.
We're here. Thank you for having me.
No, man, like we've obviously a lot of conversation about your last few years, man.
We have Mr. Olympia, and he's allowed to call himself Mr. Olympia.
That's it.
Finally.
That's pretty, actually, it's our first time having a Mr. Olympia on our podcast.
Yeah.
Like a current, reigning, defending.
First, no, it is.
Are you calling yourself two-time already, or I said something about two-time?
Hey, well, champ, you know, but that's two-division champion, you know. We gotta earn that second title this year of Mr. Olympia.
City.
No, it's an honor being here, guys. You know, I watch the podcast all the time, you know, so been wanting to check out your place. Pretty cool. I like it.
You thought this was my house.
I did. I was like, dope, man. Gonna check out Jay's house. Nope, not Jay's house.
Well, we're missing the sand out. We only have the Arnold.
I think you know what we need.
Like Cormier thought he was going to come take the Arnold Classic trophy.
Yeah.
We need to take a new picture and put the trophies in there.
Yeah, he keeps saying that. But you know, you're collecting these. Yours is a lot bigger than mine is. I wish I had so you could see how.
Yeah.
I was actually going to bring one.
Dude, mine's over 40 pounds. So when I won and I was on stage, I really wanted this cool, epic shot of me holding it with one hand and like pointing it, flexing. You know what it is? But when I picked it up, I was like, holy crap, I don't know how I'm going to hold this. And I literally thought to myself, don't embarrass yourself. Everybody's watching, you know? So I was like, all right, you got one shot, throw it up, boom, and then back down. I've yet to be able to, since then, hold it with one hand.
You had a lot of adrenaline though, because I was on stage as you won, and you know, you did this, like this surprisingly, you kind of knew so close the year before, man, you know.
I was pretty confident, but I was also in the mindset of like, wow, like if this happens, like my name gets called Mr. Olympia, then this is history, man. I mean, every year's history, but like this is really history because I would be the first two-division champion and the 18th Mr. Olympia of all time. And when it happened, I got to be honest, I was in shock, man.
I know, but I'm sure you thought about, okay, because I went into every show and I'm like, okay, losing, winning, how am I going to handle both? And you were there the year prior, like.
Yeah. So I got to say, man, like going into finals, I was confident. I was like, man, like I really think that prejudging went pretty well. Even though like I knew I could come back to finals better, and I did. I was like, I feel pretty good going into the night show. I think that we got this, but I always, God rest his soul, Sean Roden, I remember him always saying, it's not over till it's over.
True, yeah.
So I was like, until you hear your name called, don't get your hopes up too much. But I did tell Hani, I was like, it would be a tough pill to swallow if it didn't go my way because I feel very good about this. But I did. I mean, you have to think of both options while staying confident in that.
Put yourself in my shoes for a lot of years against Ronnie Coleman. And I know you're close to Ronnie Coleman. And you build that respect factor, but it's like second place, Jay Cutler. You know, some years were like, I know this, but a couple of years I'm like, this is close, you know? And in 01 was terrible for me because I knew, like it was talked about, Jay's leading by 6. And okay, I'm trying to do the math and I'm like, okay, I can't really lose this, right?
Right.
And then I lose by 3 points. You know, he gathers 9 points to, you know, get ahead. And
so I think, I don't know how you felt, but it sounds kind of about like how I felt going from prejudging to finals. I was thinking, I feel like I'm ahead. I feel that I'm winning. But again, it's not over till it's over. So I just want to hear my name called, and that's it.
You know, it's crazy though. I know our viewers and our listeners.
Yeah.
You don't get any vibes, like you can't call someone in between the prejudging and 2-day show, right? Friday night, Saturday night. So I shouldn't even say prejudging and finals. It's a whole day. you listen to the scatter of like, oh, Derek, Hottie, and knocked the champ out, and yeah. Like, was there anyone that like, Derek, you got this, or that's the question. Is like, I never got anyone to call, be like, dude, you got this. Don't worry, you're leading by X. So they don't want to tell any information is the crazy part, right?
I think my team, my circle of people were like, no, you look good. Like they weren't saying like you're winning or you're gonna win this, but I think they're like, no, this is you look good. You're in a position that you can win for sure. It was more backstage whenever there was just like random people backstage, and some people would say, I got you winning. You're winning. You're gonna win this. You'd have a handful of people saying that, and then all of a sudden you have one person going, I don't know, man. It's close. And I'm like, oh, man. So you get all this hype, like, yeah, I got this. Then all of a sudden that one person says, I don't know, man, it's close. And you go, oh, shoot. Oh, geez.
But you got to know, like, listen, you turn around, and we talked about this leading up. I said, Derek wins anything after the back poses, right? So he finishes the show off. But the problem is the front poses, right? The criticism has been, hey, is the maturity there? Is, you're dealing with the most conditioned guy in our business, which is Hottie, right? Who's kind of your team. I don't know, call him a teammate, or like you guys train together, you guys spend time together.
I have a lot of appreciation for Hottie because just like Flex Lewis in the 212, Flex really made me level up. He really made me go to work every single day and do my best. And that's what Hottie's doing for me now, among the other guys too. Don't get me wrong. You got Samson and Nick and all the other guys. But right now I see Hottie as the guy that I know he's in the gym, and he's getting after it every single day. And so the way I see my competition now is not just I want to beat this guy like it was back in the 212 early on. Now it's like, no. You got to beat you, as cliche as that is. But the competitors hold you accountable. Knowing that your competitors are giving 100% each and every day to beat you simply holds you accountable for you to do the same each and every day. So that's how I view it. So I appreciate Hottie and what he brings to the Mr. Olympia and to bodybuilding, to the stage, because it makes me level up. And it's gonna bring the best out of me. And I've heard you say that so many times about Ronnie.
Well, I mean, as a front back show, the same thing is where I felt I was dominant in a lot of front shots, like the midsection and the quads, right, where the condition was there. But, obviously it was a size thing. We were the two biggest guys. Now you have the two guys winning that came from 212, okay? And this is, I asked who we had someone else on here. I'm not going to mention because it hasn't even been, it will be out by this point. Yeah, Seth Froese, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
he's looking good too,
but that's what I say. But I said your thoughts on 212, and I can't even ask you that because it's still one of your things. But it's like, when does Keon step up to the plate? You saw William Bonnick step to the plate. You saw Sean Clarita win open. You battled with these guys. Like when does 212 get recognition into the open category, because you have two guys that are arguably the lighter guys dominating the division?
Well, people keep saying that Hottie and I are 212 guys. We're not 212 guys.
Of course you're not.
We're not even close to 212 anymore.
But you came from
We were 212. It's just like if a classic guy were to go to open or something like that, they were classic and they would go to open. So if I was someone like Sean who competed in the open and then went back to the 212, yes, it would be a 212 competitor competing in the open. But that's not Hottie and I. That's not William Bonac. That's not these other guys you just mentioned.
Do you feel you wasted time?
Oh, boy. This is something we've talked about for a couple of years. On one hand, yes, because it's like, wow, like it would have been great to have, excelled earlier on in my career. However, I take myself back to who I was, that kid that just turned pro and went to the Olympia so fast. I needed that time to mature as a person, And so realistically, I don't regret anything because I'm very thankful that I went through those tough times to bring me out on the other end, to be where I am now. And I always give praise to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because I know that he was with me the entire time, allowing me to go through these challenges and struggles just so that I would lean on him and realize that it's him opening these doors and it's him that's using me and calling me to do this. And it's not just I'm doing it for myself. So that's my faith. That's my testimony. And so, no, I wouldn't go back on anything. maybe there's a few things where I'm like, I wish I could have matured sooner.
They seem like they really had to talk you into it the year. It was a big controversy when you guest posed, and we were in the gym like an hour before.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to guest pose tonight, and da-da-da-da-da. And that changed the whole scope of everything. Can you imagine? We were training in the gym, and you were in the corner. I don't know what it was.
You were training arms. I trained little calves, I think.
Yeah, but it was like, and I'm looking at you, and you're posing and everything, and Tani's like, yeah, he's getting up there tonight. And like, this was kind of like a last minute. I don't even think he was like, oh, Derek Lunsford advertised thing. He's going to pose. Oh, he's going to get up there. And dude, you changed the whole game that night.
Yeah. So it was the night before that Jim Manion had asked me. He's like, hey, Derek, would you want to get on stage? I go, well, am I going to say no? Absolutely. This is my moment. Let's go. So, and I'm always training in the off season hard and being consistent. So I thought, what the heck? So let's do it. And, then, like you said, like that next day, we were in the gym training together. And I think you even mentioned, you're like, I don't know, man, maybe open.
I think you were eating a lot of food to get like swelled up a little bit or something. You were actually working for this guest posing. And you're like, I'm going to blow their minds or whatever. And he gets up on stage and everyone's like, what the? I mean, the whole place just stops and they're like, why is this guy competing in the 212?
Yeah, and then I think you and Chris Cormier and a bunch of others were like, nope, open. You're going open. And Hani was the only person, because I was like, all right, I've always wanted to be an open guy. I want to go for that.
I was going to ask you that, because when you started and I met you wherever we met for the first time, your dream wasn't to be 212 Mr. Olympia. It was to be the best.
Truthfully, no. I always wanted to be Mr. Olympia. That's the most prestigious title in the world. That's what you have. That's what Ronnie Coleman has. That's what Arnold Schwarzenegger has. So I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. and I knew my best wouldn't be in a weight cap under 212 anyway. So just for the mere fact of me wanting to be my best as a bodybuilder, I'm putting so much, sweat equity into this, sacrifice, that why do I want to not be the best version of myself? So it was no question.
And Hani was fighting it, huh?
Yeah,
dude, hey, man, you're going to get better here. I know the whole thing, right?
So there's no question that I wanted to go open. So I immediately went to him and I was like, open? I go, is it open time? And he's like, he literally goes, nope. He goes, don't buy into the hype. And I was like, are you kidding me?
He is such a bubble burster, isn't he, bro? And we talked about this, I'm like, I want to kill him because he's so spot on. That's why I said he's like the best, dude. He'll ride you and ride you, but he never wants you to get.
Yep. It's like this. I don't know about you, but like for me, it's this push and pull. Like he'll give me this push, and then he knows when to pull back a little bit. I think that was him pulling it back a little bit. Like, don't buy into the hype. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. And then everybody's asking, how are you gonna make 212? I go, I don't know, but I'll make it happen. my wrestling background will kick in, and we'll make the weight somehow. So I think I went from a professional weight cutter to finally a bodybuilder. So
speaking of wrestling, we talk a lot about, is bodybuilding, a sport? Is it athletics? But you actually have a real collegiate athletic background. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, coming into bodybuilding, I actually, let me back it up. I needed bodybuilding whenever I started my bodybuilding journey. When I was in college wrestling, it was only a short period of time when I realized wrestling wouldn't be my future. What am I going to do? Am I going to go to the Olympics? Well, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I know the guys that were competing in the Olympics, and they would trash me on the mat. So I wasn't that good to go to the Olympics. And even if I did, I don't know what those guys make as a career, but like, I don't know. I just didn't see that being my future. So then I thought to myself, what else? Okay, maybe I could use wrestling and go train other martial arts and go into the MMA world.
UFC.
UFC. I was watching it all the time. I was sparring and fighting and training and doing all that. So I thought, this is probably going to be my future, I thought. And mind you, I was much better at that than considering being Mr. Olympia. I was 140 pounds, man. And then I thought, well, like maybe going to school. So I got my business degree. And just in that time, I was like losing myself. My identity was in wrestling. And once I stopped wrestling, I didn't know where I was going to go. Was it fighting? Was it school? Was it, what is this? Bodybuilding? I seen some of these guys in the gym. And I'm like, they're jacked, and I'm thinking to myself, what do you do? Like, you're not a football player. You're too big to be a wrestler and a fighter. Like, it's not the body for that. what do you do? They said, oh, we compete in bodybuilding. I said, what the heck is that? Like, what are you talking about, competing in bodybuilding? I said, no, like you've heard of Mr. Olympia? I go, no, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. So they show me Jay Cutler. I'm like, dang, man, you know? And I remember even showing my wife one time, once I was considering bodybuilding. I was like, is this what you want me to look like? 09 quad stomp? And because I thought she was going to say, that's gross. She goes, no, that's cool. And I was like, okay, all right. So
you got the home motivation.
Yeah, I was like, really? You're okay with like me being a bodybuilder like this? She's like, no, I think that's awesome. I said, oh, okay. So I got the support here. But the reason why I said I needed bodybuilding was because my identity was in wrestling and I was losing myself. I was losing my focus. I needed something to give me discipline, give me a goal. So really at first that was all that it was, is I just needed something that I could focus on as a goal, something to look forward to every day, to get better at in the gym. And so that was the start of my bodybuilding journey. And then quickly, like I said, I learned about Mr. Olympia and Jay Cutler and Phil Heath. The Generation Iron movie just came out, and I watched it and got all pumped up and said, this is what I want to do. I want to be Mr. Olympia. So when you ask, like, do I want to be 212 or open? No, I wanted to be Mr. Olympia.
But you came up to me and told me I'm going to be the best.
I did.
He literally came up to me, and I kind of was like, fuck, he's pretty cocky, this guy. And because he was like, you know, he had a tank top on, and he was... I thought it was at FIBO, but you thought it was somewhere else.
Okay, so the first time I met you, the very, very, very first time I met you was at the Arnold Classic in 2015. It was before I ever competed. I was dieting for my first show, which would have been a couple months later. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into, man. You know? Yeah. I saw you. I'm like, and I remember you saying this too, that you're like, man, if I could build a physique that I like and make a living doing it, what better life is that? And that's literally, that stuck in my mind. I thought, if I can dedicate myself to bodybuilding like I did wrestling, I truly believe I can go all the way. And if nothing else, if I don't become Mr. Olympia, I still believe that I can be an IFBB pro and Olympian, you know, sponsored athlete. Or even if I don't achieve that, there will be no question in my mind that I tried, I gave it my all. And then I can still do something within fitness and bodybuilding, whether it be a personal trainer, a coach, own a gym, work in supplements. There's a multitude of things that you can do in fitness and bodybuilding that you can't do in just simply a sport like wrestling. So when you ask me, that was the original question. I kind of detoured here.
It's okay.
I had the mindset of a wrestler and a competitor going into bodybuilding. And I realized after those first couple of years competing with Flex, how I just want to beat him. I want to beat my idol, Flex Lewis, you know. That's not what this sport is. This sport is you being the best version of yourself, bringing to the stage a compelling argument on why your physique is the best in the world. There's guys, I don't think that there's any Mr. Olympia that doesn't have some sort of flaw, if so to speak. Of course. That's a whole nother topic if you want to talk about flaws, or if you want to appreciate the wow factor in the physiques too. So you can nitpick any of the Mr. Olympias that you want. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
No, we're just about you being an athlete.
Yeah.
And then coming into this.
Yeah. It's just
a real athlete.
Yeah. Like, it's just the difference between seeing your competition as someone that you want to beat solely on the aspect of competition versus being your best. And I like to use the analogy, high tide raises all ships. So I feel right now that's what we're doing in bodybuilding, is that, yeah, I'm the current Mr. Olympia, and I want to make the most of it for myself. And I do want to still beat my competition, but I feel that all of us collectively giving our best, holding each other accountable to raise the standard to a higher level, we all win. Look at the prize money that's going up in the competitions, right? That speaks volumes. All these businesses that are coming out of the woodworks to support bodybuilding, whether it be the athletes or the shows. I mean, right now, bodybuilding is really thriving. So that's the way I look at it now, is that we can all truly win. Kind of going back to what you were saying before, building a physique that you like and doing it, you know, for a living. It's like, yeah, that's what we all want to do.
I know, but your day is a constant grind. I'm sure you're not cutting, you know, an hour to work out a day and then, like, you still have to you're a dad now, obviously, and, husband and, ambassador, like, you're like the guy, right? And you're so serious about defending, you can win once, but the second time means more for that title.
It wasn't an accident or a fluke.
Yeah, and, you have a lot of haters versus supporters, okay? We all had it. I should say haters. I hate that. I say doubters instead of haters because, you have a lot of people. Was it close? Okay. And listen, me as a guy, okay, and I was on both the winning and losing sides, right? I've won it and I lost it, came back to win it. No one's done that, right? So as much as I want to cheer a hottie Chupin on to be like, man, can he regain it last year? Didn't happen, right? Mm-hmm. Not the consecutive year, like after you're losing it. But I love to see someone win 2 in a row and 3 in a row. And, we've seen the Phil Heath effect and Ronnie effect. And Dorian, I was 2 in a row and I lost. Dexter won once and he lost, never won it again. You have a big target. And how does that make you feel, though? Like, do you go in the gym and do you train? I'm going to ask you what I asked Regan. Do you train angry? Because I've seen you train.
Yeah.
And I know you have a hell of a lot of people pushing you, okay? You train your ass off, don't you?
Yeah, okay, so...
But you train angry. Just say yes or no.
No. I used to. I used to. And I think this is something that actually...
I think he's lying. I think he trains... Does he train angry sometimes? Do you see him? Does he grimace under that weight and push himself?
Okay, that's a different thing. Yes, absolutely.
Well, see, Regan smiles and does his rips.
No. Okay, well, that's a different question, right? Do I train angry? No, I like to use my fuel from a positive place rather than a negative place. Of course. That's the way I see the way I train and going into training and competing. Used to, there's a lot of negative energy that I had, a chip on my shoulder early on in my life that people would say, yeah, you're worthless, you'll never make anything of yourself, you're lazy, and, this is, I don't want to say who it is because, quickly figured out who it was, but it's somebody very, very close in my life that was very important, would say these things to me, and it stuck with me, and so I was like, I'd go in the gym angry every single day, and that Muhammad Ali quote, I'll show you how great I am. And it was that. It was not only I'll show you how great I am, I'm going to show the entire world how great I am. Everybody's going to put me on a pedestal and praise me. And that can only take you so far. Mm-hmm. That's what I realized. I was really miserable in my own life. When I'd go home from the gym, it wasn't enough just leaving in the gym. So I try my hardest not to pull motivation from a negative place and get angry, so to speak, or at least that's the way I interpret it. But do I get under that weight? And do I go to a different place in my mind? You have to.
Yes.
You have to go there.
Because I was just watching this Olympia showdown. They brought all you guys, right?
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be a serious event, right?
It was serious.
But I heard Cormier say, well, Nick was really locked in.
Yeah.
And, you kind of toyed with these boys a little bit, Derek. Yeah. Like, the confidence... Tell me about your confidence now versus 2 years ago. Because there is a big difference, you sitting here.
Yeah, yeah. No, okay, so first and foremost, I realized that I did go to the gym for the first time and fell in love with being in the gym before bodybuilding because I got to go there and not just pump the weights and get better every single day, but I got to go there with friends who loved this same thing. They were passionate about being in the gym, working out, bodybuilding. And so that's what made me want to do this. Among what I just said about, doing it for a living and being, Mr. Olympia, I fell in love with the gym because I got to go there, get better every day, build my physique, and do it with buddies, right? And even though we're at the top level of bodybuilding, why does it have to be any different? Or at least in my mind, I mean, if it takes two to have a positive relationship, right? But I don't see that I need to always be competition all the time. So part of me, I like to joke around and give my friends a hard time. And that's the way I see Nick.
It's the same, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my YouTube channel, I have a couple of training partners. I give them a hard time all the time. My buddy Matt Grego, who just won the Classic New York Pro. Yeah, he's really
trains him, yeah.
Yep. And yeah, Chris Aceto is his coach. And then my buddy Bartley too, who's a classic physique pro, but he's an interesting character. He's one of the best professional eaters in the world, believe it or not. But not to get sidetracked, I like to. No, I gotta introduce you to this guy. He's funny, but I like to give these guys a hard time. They give me a hard time. It makes it fun. You know, we push each other, we push ourselves.
And you and Nick used to train together, right?
Me and Nick used to do the same thing there in Tampa when he lived there. So Samson and I, you know, we haven't had as much time together as me and Nick has, but it's still fun, you know.
So talking trash to Nick you're comfortable with it.
I love it. I think it's funny.
You should have seen me and Ronnie back in the day training. You know? Same thing. I mean, you know, the Ronnie Coleman videos where he's squatting 800, you know, that was we didn't do that with our travel week and week on the road. And, you know, Ronnie had the same schedule, like, you know, Friday was legs, Saturday was chest. So we would.
It wasn't 800, it was more like
no.
550.
We kind of we cruised because we were on the road. So it was a little more relaxed. And, you know, I had a big crew that traveled to the gym with me and we'd laugh and joke. I mean, a lot of stuff we couldn't put on video.
Yeah,
you know, it was kind of the conversations.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did go in when I got under that weight, man, I was locked in and I was just really focused. And I just envisioned myself always on the stage and how I could improve. And the thing is, you know, you do build that confidence after, you know, a year now being Mr. Olympia, right? Where we're pretty much, I'm going to say the year is done because you're going to go into that lockdown now.
It's go time.
How many weeks?
Well, I fly out right after this podcast, and as soon as I get home, it's go.
How many weeks is it though?
We're 15.
Okay. So you have time, right? This is plenty of time for someone like you who's in great condition. I don't know what your weight fluctuation is, but it's not a
5 to 7 pounds heavier this time than I was last year.
Okay.
And that's generous.
But you're in great condition and it's just now about the sequence of like meals, training, no sidetracking. Do you stop traveling now quite a bit or?
Yeah. I have like 2 places I'm traveling over the next few weeks. I'm going back to Indiana to see my family for about a week during the 4th of July weekend.
Okay.
And so that's like being at home. So that's not really an event. That's not really traveling. That's just me being with my family. And I'll be able to, you know, really settle in and train and just, you know, be at peace back in Indiana. But after that, at 12 weeks out, I'm going up to Canada to do the tour
for supplement work.
Yep.
Yeah, Josh. Yeah.
So be up there with Evagen and Hani for that. Other than that, I'm just going to be at home.
That's a great tour, actually.
Yeah, we say the same thing we did.
Yeah. This is my first time up there, so I'm very excited about it.
He was concerned about you fitting on the plane.
Well, you know.
That plane is a little tight, couple of the seats. By
I was going to say, is it big enough?
You can crawl on there.
Do they have a mini fridge for all my meals?
Yeah, they'll cater to you.
I think they have one in the back, yeah they do.
They cater to do it well. So talk about, you know, you just became a father for the first time.
Oh, it's the best.
And, you know, that was a big display. You did the whole big social media thing. It was a big announcement for you because it's like all these great things are happening to you at once. Is it overwhelming sometimes? And, you know, talk about that transition and what that means going into this preparation versus last year where it was maybe a thought. I don't know, was she pregnant last year? So
we knew just before the Pittsburgh Pro the previous year.
Okay.
We just didn't announce it till later on, you know. But yeah, I mean, you know, she was pregnant and she came on stage. I kissed her belly. After winning. And so, you know, that was motivation for last year, knowing that I was going to be a father. Now it's crazy because like I think any parent out there would agree with me on this 100% is that you know when you're going to be a parent that you're going to love your child, but you really don't actually understand the love, the unconditional love that comes out of nowhere when they're born. Like I knew I was going to love my daughter, but when she was born, there was just this unbelievable love that I instantly had for her and this motivation and extra gear that again came out of nowhere. It wasn't something that I try to be going over and above and doing more. It's just that I can't really explain it. The same as I say is like, I love my daughter, but I never imagined loving her this much. I can't explain it. I can't explain what I mean by saying like, it gives me this extra gear of motivation because it's not something that I have to get worked up for or think about. It just is what it is. So at first, before she was born, you know, I questioned like, is this going to make it harder for me to train and prep for the Olympia? But realistically, I think it only gives me more motivation.
You're responsible for someone.
Yeah. Well, you know, Yes.
How's your time change? That's what I mean. Like, so the schedule, it's a selfish schedule, man.
Yeah.
You know, like eat, sleep, train, lock in.
So I have an amazing, amazing wife. So shout out to my wife, Jelson, who she's an incredible mother. And so she's the one that wakes up in the middle of the night and takes care of our baby Evie. And so I get to rest and go to the gym. She's fully supportive of everything that I need to do. She encouraged me to do what I need to do and do it for the right reasons. So we talk about the money in the sport, but at the same time, she lets me know, like, it's not always all about the money. You need to do it for the right reasons, which is why I didn't do the Arnold the last couple of years, because I felt that it just wasn't my time. I wasn't going to do it for the right reasons. And I just wanted to be Mr. Olympia. So I wanted to put all my eggs in the basket of being Mr. Olympia.
Now that you're Mr. Olympia, is that $500K intriguing?
Listen, hey, I'm not going to lie. That's $500,000, man.
It's a house in most of
What
America.
did you think of when we sat on the podcast last year and, and they announced this Arnold money and you chose...
Just $300,000 or the $500,000? You mean $300,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and we said, man, Derek, like...
It's a lot, man.
You were second. And we said, listen, this is a gamble. If this kid goes and wins... I call you a kid. You're a kid. You're a kid.
I mean, you are old.
Yeah, I know.
It could be his dad.
So it's a gamble. And you listen to this, Derek, that we're being transparent here. And I rode that Arnold Olympia thing, and I was second, and I'm like, okay, does he lock in and just focus on the Olympia, and that title means everything? Okay, because it's not, you have nothing until you have an Olympia title, right? Arnold Classics are great, but it's still secondary, right? Was it hard? And did you listen to what we said and said, hey, if I was him, and once again, we're not you, so we don't know what goes in, and what was it?
Well, I'll tell you this.
Because we don't do it for the money. I mean, we do it for the money, but we don't do it for the money in a lot of ways, right?
Exactly. It's never for the money first, that's for sure. Like, does money talk? Sure. I mean, do you want to make a good living for you and your family? Absolutely. There's no question about that, right? So that's kind of what I was saying about my wife being supportive of me, pushing me to do certain things, like going to events that I need to be at, like FIBO, for example, or like the Pittsburgh Pro. She's like, yeah, you need to be at those. Like, go do them. That's great for you. That's great for the sport. Go be Mr. Olympia. And there's times where she like talked to me about the Arnold a couple years ago and said, if you're doing it just for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right. Because I had it in my head when they announced $300,000. I said, I called Hani. I said, I think I want to do this. I did. And he goes, I think you need to focus on the Olympia, but I will support you. If you decide to do the Arnold, I will help you. I said, okay. I said, let me think about it. And then that's when my wife said, if you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I said, okay, from this moment, now that you said that, I'm not doing it. It's not in my heart to do it for the right reasons. I'm not doing it. And so that being said, had I done the Arnold, who knows if we would have our child today? Because, right after that was when our child was.
Yeah, you're Superman, dude. You could do it. But you look at Victor. When he arguably could have won in 07 against me, he won the Arnold. Dexter Jackson won the Arnold, won the Olympia that year. Then you got Ronnie Coleman, who went to the Arnold and almost lost to me, and said, I'll never do it again. And he is, Ronnie's mentored you some. I know you guys train together. You spend a lot of time. You appreciate Ronnie Coleman, right?
That's for sure.
Did he ever talk about it with you?
I did. I asked him.
You asked him?
I asked him in Germany, actually. We had dinner last night. And, that's a whole nother story. I'll tell you off camera. But anyway, I love Ronnie. Ronnie's the best. I said, what do you think? He said, yeah, it almost cost me the Olympia title. He said, the Olympia comes first. So that's, in a way, tough to hear because it's like, am I encouraged to do the Arnold someday? Sure. But definitely being Mr. Olympia without question is number one. I mean, going back to what we were saying, kind of asked me earlier, we didn't quite touch on, but being Mr. Olympia this last year has opened up so many opportunities in my life. My gosh, man, like, not to get political, but I got to have dinner at Mar-a-Lago earlier on this year. There's been so many business opportunities that have been presented to me when I go to these events like FIBO, you and I were there.
Yeah.
The crowds are just even crazier. So the impact that we're having on the bodybuilding community is even greater. I'm opening up my gym in the Tampa Clearwater area this year. It's going to be a nice place. There's just so many. And then yesterday, receiving the key to the city with the Olympia, it's like that right there. It just says why being Mr. Olympia is so important because of that. And that carries legacy for.
It doesn't never change, man.
Yeah.
Like I
Once you got one.
still. I mean, of course, I won 4.
Right.
I mean, Phil's won 6 and Ronnie's won 8, but we still have a lot of beneficial things. That's what I always tell people is like, you can look at football players and basketball, baseball players, and like they're the greats, right? Yeah. There's the elite that we hear about, and then there's the other guys that are, at different levels. But one thing about bodybuilding, where people say, how do you make money doing that? Or we don't make enough money. Being Mr. Olympia changes the scope of everything. You can monetize that title endlessly till, listen, I'm 50 years old, man, and I still,
who's done it better? Let's be honest.
No, it's not even about that. It's just the opportunity. Like you're floored at the 1 year. I was floored by second 4 times to Ronnie Coleman. I was popular, right? It was he and I were like the leaders of the sport. And I thought I was benefiting because I had big deals, big contracts. I was getting great guest appearances, the same money as Ronnie. But when that title took over in 2006, like it went from that level to that level. That was the difference. So the respect factor, when you walk in a room now, you walk in a tank top, right? There's no thought of like, are my arms big enough or my shoulders? Does my back look? Well, you don't even talk about your back because you got the best back ever, But like, you don't have to even think about a lot of those things because that's Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And I've said this before. It's like when I was in the 212 and I was placing second or whatever, just close to winning, and I was getting decent deals at the time. I thought, I pretty much made it. I want to be the champion, but I'm living a good life, getting good contracts and this and that. And then I realized once I won, wow, there's a big difference. And not just, again, not the contracts, not the money, but just everything that comes with being the champion in that division. I realized, wow, there's a big difference between second and first. And then when I went from 2021 winning the 212 to 2022 Open placing second, that was another huge leap. Going from that 212 division to the Open, placing second was like a whole nother level. And I thought again, wow, I've pretty much made it, And not that I didn't want to continue to strive to win, obviously, but I was like, dang, man, second place in the Open, that's incredible. Almost forgot until I won this past year. Going from second to first is just, it's not even comparable.
The funny thing is, though, is that you had to know from the time you competed early on. You said you did your first show, and then you went to USA.
Yeah. Win
USA. What, I don't know what year that was.
2017.
And then you go to Tampa, which was
next week.
Week later. Win that.
I was at that show.
And you gotta realize, okay, I have something really different here. And then you're spoken on as like this guy is the next. Flex is still in the picture, right?
Right.
And then you get second to him, but then you kind of fall off.
Yeah.
And you go into kind of the darkest point of probably your career, right?
Or life, yeah. It was a pretty 100% a dark place a dark time in my life. That's why I said I never wish it on my worst enemy that they go through that depression that I was in, but at the same time, I can now say that I'm thankful for it. Had I won the Olympia title in 2018 when Flex won, or the year after 2019 when Kamal won, or even in 2020 when I dropped down to 4th and then Sean won, it would have just been too premature for me as a person. I wouldn't have been the right person I needed to be, a professional, the one that's going to carry the torch strong enough had I not been held back a little bit. And I think a lot of that was my own doing, and I didn't have the right mindset at the time. I didn't have the right people in my life. My wife and I, which we were just engaged at the time, were doing long distance for 3 years, so she wasn't living with me. It was just a really dark...
Where were you living at that time?
I was
in Indiana, or
no, I had moved in from Indiana to Tampa, Florida in 2018. So 2018 to 2020 was really.
Talk about that culture training down there. You train at the MI40 gym often, right? Do you train anywhere else or? Yeah,
there's a couple other gyms that I go to in the area, but pretty much I just train at MI40.
Are you the biggest, who else is down in that area? Besides Matt, like up and coming people you talk about, but Kamal was there for a minute, right?
Kamal's still there.
Oh, he's there.
Still there. There's several other IFBB pros in the area. I mean, a good amount of IFBB pros actually in all divisions. As far as the men's, there's a handful. There's some physique guys, some classic guys. Not too many open guys are in
that area.
Yeah, but there's a lot of IFBB pro female division competitors.
Bikini, figure,
wellness, all that. Yeah. So really, Tampa is a big hub for bodybuilding. I mean, a lot of people are moving there. I'm hearing a lot of influencers that are moving there within the next couple months. Like me building my gym, I'm quite certain that a lot of people are going to want to come there.
Do you want to talk about the gym, or is it too premature?
No, it's okay. I've talked about it here and there. I mean, I'm excited to build the gym. It's going to be 15,000 square foot. It's going to be the new tech equipment. Super, super, super excited about that. It's going to be right in the middle between Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater, close to the St. Pete Clearwater Airport, which is not the Tampa Airport. So it's kind of centrally located about 20 minutes from the beach, which is really nice. So nice area. I know you're familiar. You used to live down there.
Lived there for 10 years.
Yeah, that was his handle on social media.
It was Tampa. Mr. Right? Tampa.
No, it was Tampa.
Oh, really?
His thing.
Just fucked with everybody.
Yeah. No, so I love the area. I still have full support of MI40. I think it's a great gym. I love Amanda. She's a sweetheart. She's a really good-hearted person, and I love MI40 for the fact that that's the reason that I moved to Tampa and fell in love with the area. But not just my gym. I know there's a couple other franchise gyms, like good-sized gyms that are going to be coming to the Tampa area. And like I said, a lot of influencers are moving there. And let's not mention, like other athletes, celebrities, and business people that live there currently and are moving there. So it's really, truly a hub for fitness and bodybuilding. Like you're seeing people just flooding in all the time. I mean, MI40 is a semi-private gym, and I mean it's getting more and more packed all the time, and they're trying to just limit the members, and that's what I foresee for myself is that I'm building a good-sized gym. It's going to be a bit bigger than MI40, but 15,000 square foot, new tech equipment. I'm building it mainly for myself to train so I can have the best equipment and have the right atmosphere. But of course, I know you've mentioned this before too. You don't have a gym at home because you like to be in the atmosphere. Right. So I want some people, but I want the right people there that are going to create a good atmosphere, that want to train hard and want to respect the gym and want to be there, right?
Do you have a name for it yet? If you're not ready to announce it, don't announce it.
Should I announce it, Trev? I'm putting him on the spot. Yeah, so we're going to call it Champs Elysium, but the gym won't be open until towards the end of the year. And like I said, it's mainly for me to train for the next few months, especially for the Olympia. And then when we do open up to memberships, it's going to be a limited number. So that way it's just we're controlling the atmosphere and not getting too packed.
Will you be doing some of your training for the Olympia in this spot, or is it not prepared yet?
It's not prepared today.
Okay.
But in the next couple months, it's going to be built out and everything. So I'm hoping that at least 2 months of the Olympia prep, I'll be training in.
You'll be able to train there even if it's not done for the public. At least you'll be able to.
The equipment will be there, and I should be able to train on there, for sure.
So this will probably like a grand opening after the Olympia.
Yeah, sometime after the Olympia.
So celebration of winning in Las Vegas versus Florida, was that ideal?
I haven't done it yet. I've never won in Las Vegas.
That's right, yeah. He won both times.
So, but you know what? This is the 60th Mr. Olympia. If I had to put my money on it, I'm bringing home that title.
I know, but I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, the hype. I mean, you watched me and Coleman win a lot of titles out here. Phil Heath.
Here's what I think. I love Orlando because it's in my backyard.
Yeah.
I get to drive over. It's smooth. It's easy. It's really nice. But the Olympia just feels like it's supposed to be here in Vegas.
Yeah. So when you won 212, where was that?
The first couple of years, that was at the Orleans.
Okay, so
I loved the Orleans.
You won in Vegas,
yeah.
I was going to ask you, so you're the first person to ever win 2 divisions.
Yeah.
Talk about the difference between becoming the 212 champ and becoming Mr. Olympia, because there's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying earlier, is that winning the 212 was unbelievable. I mean, that was a dream come true. That's like, I mean, how many 212 Olympia champions have there been? 7, I think now. I mean,
Flex hogged it for a long time.
Yeah. So, well, 202 and 212.
202, yeah.
There's only 7 champions. I mean, that's an incredible title. It's a great division, super competitive. Those guys worked their butts off, man. But when I went from
Pacific West Injury Law. Injured? Call 602-HURT. Car accident? Call 602-HURT. Our firm is dedicated to you and your recovery.
212 champion to second in the Open, it was another level up. I mean, the Open division is the Mr. Olympia title. That's where you're fighting for the Mr. Olympia title. All the other divisions, with all due respect, are great and we need them in our sport, but it's not the Mr. Olympia. So when I was a 212 champion, I never said that I was Mr. Olympia because I wasn't at the time. But now, being in the Open, this is the title everybody wants. Everybody wants to take home that Sandow trophy. So that is the pinnacle of our sport.
So Rami was Mr. Olympia when you won.
Yeah. That was his second year winning.
You think, Jay?
So you'd get to travel to all these different cultures now. You have in the past, but as Mr. Olympia, you got to go where now so far? You've been to, do you go to Japan or?
You went to Korea.
To Korea.
Yeah.
Germany.
Awesome.
We've seen you in Germany 2 or 3 times.
Oh my gosh, I've been like 4 or 5
Yeah.
times.
And my buddy coming in here. But so what other cultures did you get to travel to as Mr. Olympia?
Oh, as Mr. Olympia?
Yeah.
Those are the only countries I've been to, I think. Yeah, Germany and Korea as Mr. Olympia. But I traveled all through the U.S. this year. Oh, Mexico too. Sorry, Mexico.
Is there any place that you would love to go and represent the title that you have not yet?
For sure. I mean,
and would you compete with your title in other foreign countries if it came? There's a lot of talk of Middle East right now of like the expansion of the Olympia there and everything else.
So here's what you got to understand. I mean, you know this about bodybuilding, but people need to understand is that it's not like the UFC or soccer or any of these other sports. Like what we do is around the clock. Your body can change hour by hour. It could change depending on the altitude, the humidity, everything. So like being in a foreign country would make it a lot more challenging to be able to get the food that you need and all of that, to be in your routine and comfortable. So if things were set up to where it was very easy to access food and the things that I need, training and all that, I think it would be kind of cool. But I really feel like the Mr. Olympia itself needs to be in the U.S. I know there's talks about maybe they wanted to every few years or down the road at some point, to move it around. But just to travel and to represent the sport as Mr. Olympia, I've always wanted to go to Brazil. I think Dubai would be awesome. You just mentioned Japan. I think that would be really cool. It's supposed to be a really great place to go. There's definitely a lot of places I'd love to go for sure.
In guest pose or just to appear? You like the guest posing part? Because that's something that, we did all in the past, but I feel like it's kind of, with social media, it's kind of
died down a little.
If I'm honest, nah, I don't prefer to guest post. Not saying I wouldn't, but I do enjoy guest posing at the Pittsburgh Pro because that is something special. That is something that I used to look at, 12, 13 years ago when you had like 10, 15 Olympians on stage at once, all you guys were up there. So I always saw that as something really cool and special. And I think now is how do I say it? Not important in our sport, but I think it's something that's an annual thing that's really, really awesome, really unique in our sport. So, I guess important would be the right word.
How do you feel with the comparisons of eras versus what today's era versus old era?
What do you think?
We were just talking about the card.
I just hate it because you can't compare it only because it's just, there's a lot of different circumstance. And, I think there's I think Ronnie Coleman brought Mr. Olympia the furthest it's ever gone as far as physique wise. Do you Phil Heath is pretty damn amazing too. I was Mr. Olympia, but I don't look at myself as I'm one of the top 2 or 3. They make the comparison, how would you stack Dorian Yates against Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler. You know, they do those comparisons.
Right.
And you're going to be part of that in the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They're going to eventually, once you've built your legacy. But is it discouraging for you, Derek? Because I know, like, people talk badly of what the scope of what it is today.
I find it kind of silly, to be honest with you. Like I don't understand the aspect of what you just said of,
do people have that much free time to do
so here's
what you mean? Or
well, look, I would agree with you with Ronnie Coleman being one of the
leveled up
best built physiques ever. Incredible. Obviously I'm still building mine, but I mean Ronnie's on his own level. That being said, I don't think there needs to be much comparison. Why do we have to compare? Why can't we just support? Something that Matt and I were talking on the way over here. It's like, I see you and I see Ronnie fully supporting all Olympia divisions, but especially the Mr. Olympia, right? And not just Mr. Olympia, the ones holding the title, but just the top guys. You're constantly supporting it, and you're adding value back into what made you so great, right? And I think that we need to stick together, support one another, and instead of constantly criticizing and saying, well, this guy can be better here, or this guy is lacking this, or this guy's whatever negative comment, why don't we just talk about how incredible every athlete is or every competitor is? I want everybody to think that we're like the new age Avengers, I want people to think that, wow, Nick's one of the greatest ever, Samson's one of the greatest ever, Derek's one of the greatest ever, Hottie's one. I mean, I really want people to think that top 5, top 10 guys are some of the greatest competitors that's ever graced the stage. And so I'll tell you what's discouraging is when I hear people, I don't want to name names, but I think we know who some of them are, that constantly want to criticize and critique and say, well, I think that they feel like they're building up the sport when in reality, all you're doing is kind of bringing it down. Oh, well, he needs to be better. Well, stop talking about the things that he needs to do better. You don't think that he's working on those things? Why don't you talk about how crazy the back shot was, or how crazy the most muscular was, or how crazy conditioning or huge this guy's like I want to hear people talking up not just me, but my competitors. And you don't need to compare to other eras, right? I think it's appropriate that you have your best or your favorite physiques, like your opinion. I think it's very important that we all have our opinion on what we like to see and who we think should be Mr. Olympia, but I don't like it when people tear each other down. I hate it.
Yeah, I think everyone is as strong. You mentioned that earlier. You were talking about like people have weaknesses and strong points. And, bodybuilding is about hiding those weaknesses and showing your strong points, because Ronnie Coleman had weaknesses. Like, there were poses like his side tricep was a little awkward, and, his calves weren't the best developed compared to his quads. And I mean, I always had condition, my front was always harder than my back. And like I had, a leg that was smaller, a bicep that was smaller than the other side. So it was like, okay, how can I used to go into every show, like, okay, how can I, even with Honey, we'd be like, all right, this stance looks a little better, right?
Right.
I mean, we work around those with the posing, okay?
And some people like certain posing this way, and other people like posing that way. At the end of the day, you're on stage in front of judges that are judging you, and you get feedback from those judges on what they want to see, in those poses, and that might differ from the fans, and so you see that too. But I just wish we could do better at going, wow, look at how crazy this guy is, and then I think what that could do is I think that would really propel the sport in the right direction, even more than it already is, because the way I kind of see it is like this. I know you're the same way, but I feel right now that I'm trying to, I'll use this analogy, I'm trying to build this elaborate house. And is it a house for me to live in? Yeah, right? But it's also a house for everybody to come visit, right?
Because they want to enjoy themselves.
Well, this is what
building too.
Some people do, but this is the way I see it. I'm trying to build this elaborate house. I'm really working hard. I'm trying to take things to another level, right? And then you got this person over here that goes, well, I'm going to take these shingles off the roof and I'm going to put them in my house. And that's what I feel like a lot of these coaches and these social media channels and different fans are doing. is instead of trying to go, wow, let's push the Mr. Olympia or the top 5 guys, we want to see these guys out here receiving the key to the city. We want to see these guys out here traveling and making appearances and doing these awesome things and maybe collaborating with influencers. That's how we take the sport to the next level, so that as I'm building this elaborate house for myself, I feel people are kind of taking away from the progress I'm trying to make, along with my competitors. I see other guys doing, great work too, but it's hard when we're constantly trying to take from each other instead of trying to build each other up as a community,
Yeah,
and then we all win.
Do you set limitations for yourself now? Because, listen, we realize your physique. I mean, your back is arguably, it dominates the division. So do you take away maybe a little bit effort there and put it towards other things? Like, you worked in your legs the last couple of years, right? Because there was criticism, right? Now there's not much they can really say about the leg sweep, right? The legs are just, we're going to see improvement, I assume, for
buddy, this year. I'm stronger in my legs.
I saw you in those pants yesterday and they didn't fit very well,
I'll tell you what, when it comes to like my chest workouts, like pressing movements, and my leg workouts, by far, this is the strongest I've ever been. And so I can see in my physique when I do the updates, I send them to Hani, I can tell that there's more thickness in those areas, but also like more density too. So I would like to think that, the training has translated to a better physique. I would say it's not that you're neglecting body parts. I think it's more that you're putting emphasis on what you need first. So if you're building out your training split through the week, you're putting your lagging body parts first and wanting to make sure you're putting all the energy, effort, and intensity in those muscle groups before you do something like, for me, like back.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about lag because I never want to expose like what you think, but I know you're always, but is there a cap in weight? Because of your structure, right? You are limited. Like, you're not trying to be 300. Everyone wants to be 300 today, right?
I don't want to be Mr. 300.
So title. Is there like does Hani monitor like, hey, dude, like you're pushing 260, like we can't go over 260 because...
Maybe a little more.
Okay. We never ask the weight because the weight's irrelevant, right?
Yeah, but
we always wonder, like, I just wish they'd weigh you guys on the day of.
Didn't they used to years ago?
I don't know, but it's just, because they're going to ask you, hey, what do you weigh? And it's like, I always talk about, Milos argues with me and and I was 254.
Yeah.
No way, you were 250. Okay, what, you think I'm going to lie?
It doesn't matter now.
Like,
you know what I mean?
What am I going to lie?
Why, he thinks you're like 270?
Yeah, he's like, there's no way you would.
Wouldn't you rather say I'm 270?
Because he was 270 a decade before. That's why.
Right. Definitely. Hani, I'll send him updates, and he said the other day, like this past week, he's like, you're really good, in a really good position right now.
Yeah.
You're not too fat. Your shape's good, everything like that. But it is time to get going because, we haven't been full go, for a while now, right? So it's time to start ramping things up when I get back. But he said, you're in a really good spot right here. We want to keep your weight where it's at. We don't need to push it any higher.
I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah. So
health first.
And definitely I don't know about other coaches, but I can tell you Hani's very health conscious. He's right.
But that's another reason why the Arnold versus the Olympia and, listen, let's be real.
Yeah.
You're dragging all year, bro. At that point, you have a few weeks in between. And, once again, you're chasing something that's going to come with you. There's other efforts you can put forward. I remember when I chose not to do the Arnold, I was booking guest appearance and merchandising to make up for that when I could just sit and do the Olympia every year. Yes, I'd lose out on that. It was 100 then, so it's a big difference, right? But 100 made a lot more difference back in the early 2000s than it would in 2024, right?
So I'm kind of there with you on that. That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to do the most that I can this offseason, traveling, because it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the fans. It's a win for me. It's also a win for the sport. So everybody wins whenever I'm out here doing more, right? And same with my competitors too. But that's
you seem like a guy that would be more feel like you need to do more though.
Yeah.
You ever feel like, man, there's a little more I could do, like as far as getting out there and being, because I feel like we haven't had, and I don't want to insult, because you had Hadi and Big Ramy that were in a foreign place as Mr. Olympia. So now we have you who you're traveling within. You just mentioned the U.S. schedule's been crazy, and you've done some international things. You've been able to live the life of Mr. Olympia a little easier than those guys have.
Right.
Do you feel the pressure of that, like feeling like when you won that, like, man, I need to step forward now and do certain things? Because it seems like you got right to work and you started promoting it.
Yeah.
But is there anything, I mean, now, of course, opening the gym is representation too. I mean, you're building a destination. Hopefully we'll get some shirts, with the
100%.
With that. And, what else, like, do you have any, like, game plan, or are you just really just zoned in on the show right now as far as, because the year is kind of finished?
What do you mean game plan?
Like, as far as anything, like, around before the Olympia, after, like, promotions?
So that's why you said, like, as soon as I got off the Olympia, we had our child was born, our baby girl was born. So I took that short little break, maybe like 2 weeks of like being with her and my wife. And then I was out at LA Fit Expo. Saw you there. Yeah. So 2 weeks after my daughter was born, I was go. And pretty much every week of the year, somewhere, somehow I was doing something for the sport. The way I see it is this, is it pressure? No. I put pressure on myself, sure, to do more always, whether it's in the gym or whether it's like, just always I want to do the most that I possibly can, not just for myself. I am aware, I want to do it for me too, but I'm in a position that, I was just telling Flex this yesterday, I saw him and I saw you, and you two were the biggest inspirations to me, and not just because of your physique, but the way you carried the torch. You carried it strong, right? There was a standard that you set that was a level above anybody that came before you. And when I saw that from both of you, I realized, okay, if I'm ever the champion, that's the bare minimum standard that I have to have for myself. And so watching other guys come between us who have had the title, I've hoped that they would do more and more to be able to not just build themselves, but build the sport. So I feel like, is it a responsibility? Yeah, I think it's a great responsibility to hold the Mr. Olympia title and do as much as you can. Again, not just for yourself, but for the sport. So what I want to do now is I'm putting out a ton of social media content.
So I was just going to ask,
constantly.
Are we going to get back to the funny life videos?
It's been so go that it's been almost too serious all year.
They did one the other day though. You didn't see the one with the baby carriage?
No, I need to see.
Yeah, and he pulled the Olympia trophy with the sandal out, and his wife's like, "Where's our daughter?" That was a good one. Yeah.
Actually, hey, take a note of that, Trev. We got to do more of them. Yes, so we're gonna do more.
I enjoyed these. I thought it was funny, and it like. I want to say this isn't an. It's a little corny.
It is,
but
I love it.
I do the same.
Yeah.
Like I was mixing a shake, and I'm like eating the duck. It's good for the dog.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
So it's like corniness, like funny things is like that. You have to step out of character of being. Yeah. I see you as like a serious guy because I feel like you're super driven, and we kind of have to be robotic with what we do. But when we see that, it makes it fun. But you're here filming. You're doing a ton of YouTube, social media. How does it feel to be across? You're in a different era than I and Ronnie were. Like, we were magazine guys, but how does it feel for you guys to be like kind of like a crossbreed of social media / bodybuilding? Because you wouldn't call yourself an influencer, would you?
Of course I am. Look, Matt's like, come on now.
I'm an influencer, man.
See, we're all influencers, bro. Come on.
I'm not saying nothing. I'm just listening.
I'll tell you what, whenever I was getting into bodybuilding, it was kind of this transition. Like, Phil was the champion at the time, and social media was just becoming a thing. And I remember someone that I knew back in the day was like, if sponsors are eventually going to want you to have an Instagram, so you need to just get on Instagram and do this. So that was my first thing, is posting on Instagram. But I hated social media. I said, this is stupid. This takes away from my training. It's a distraction. It shouldn't be any phones and cameras in the gym. That was my mentality coming into bodybuilding.
They taught you that,
Well, it's kind of true. And plus, my wrestling background, we didn't have that crap.
Of course.
We're there to train, man. We're focused. We don't have time to turn on a camera, And so at first I hated it, and then I realized, like, I had to learn to want to do it. It took me a few years to want to capture the content, and the way I switched my mindset was this. Once again, you have to do it for the right reasons. It can't be just business, this and that, sponsors, blah, 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 blah. It's, I want to capture these moments because if I don't capture it now, it's gone forever. So
I wish I had a lot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I only have DVDs, which were like,
well, that's super cool.
I mean, that's what you watched, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's, and with 7-hour videos.
Sometimes I still watch it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Get motivated.
Hopefully you'll be playing in your gym, you know.
Yeah,
but Urs texted me this morning, Urs, and he sent me, I'm motivated by you doing back, and that was me with the headband.
Yeah, no, that's literally, I was just thinking the headband. Yeah.
So,
but no, at first I hated it, and then I had to learn to love it. And I did it because I'm like, look, I want to be able to look back and remember these moments and have this captured, because if I don't capture it now, it's gone forever. So that's kind of how it started. And then I met Trevor. That was a godsend. It was a crazy story how we met. But anyway, we started, working together, and he had to take a leap of faith because I wasn't making the money that I'm making now. So our relationship was different in the beginning, and we looked at it as like, all right, we're going to build this together. And so YouTube's hard, man. I mean, a podcast, like someone named...
Are you going to do a podcast?
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually. But that's another, we kind of got sidetracked here again, but with the gym and the podcast and the future stuff. But yeah, I have a lot of plans for the future with that. But for now, I need to stay focused on what's bringing success now, which is me being Mr. Olympia, bodybuilding, and social media content. But, like I said, I had to learn to love it. And then once the fans really started to gravitate towards the channel, then it just motivated me.
Do you listen to the feedback of what they tell you? Because listen, a mixture of training's great, but they also want to know like the personality. And sometimes, obviously you don't want to invade your home life, right? But they want to see like, hey, what goes on a daily basis? The challenges. Like I'm curious to know, like, man, what is it like being having a young child and training for the Olympia? Because dude, I was selfish, man. Like, so it intrigues me a lot. And now if you're working on this gym project and, you're working into business because, we had a talk at FIBA and you're like, man, I'm doing well and I just want to make smart moves because, listen, bodybuilding can retire you pretty easily. But you know what? It's going to transition you into bigger things. You're never going to be retired. That's the whole thing, is being who you are now.
I definitely have a vision of what I want to do with my future. I want to be competing for many years, for as long as I can.
I mean, you're a young guy. How old are you today?
I'm 31.
So
I want to be doing this for many, many years. So that has to be my first thought is you're competing as Mr. Olympia and winning that title every year. So that has to be first. With the gym, it's going to just enhance my training. I'm going to be able to shoot better content and a lot easier content. Plus, I'll be able to invite more people in to do collaborations and different things instead of just saying, hey, meet me at this random gym that's not mine. Come to my gym. I can invite them to my place. So that's going to open up a lot of doors. And I see it as a place to network, too, for others. And beyond my competitive career, I never really had anybody directly help mentor me until Hani. And so I really have passion for wanting to help the next wave of guys just through my experience alone. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of experience. And I think that I can really help a lot of people who aspire to be where I am. And so through the gym, I would love to invite people after I'm done competing to help train with them and mentor them and stuff like that.
I'm going to ask you a stupid question.
Yeah.
If the Sandow came down to wrestling match, who would be your toughest competition in the first call out?
Definitely not Nick Walker, that's for sure.
Shot, Nick.
Shot fired.
He watches our podcast.
Of course he watches. He watches all of our shows.
We got time.
Okay. This pivots me to a good place. So it's you, Hottie, Samson, Andrew Jacked, Brandon Curry, which nobody talks about. Okay. Hunter, who's improving.
And Nick.
A lot of people.
I mean, it excites me.
I know, but who do you see?
Yeah.
As like, hey, this guy's in. I mean, listen, the top last year was the top. It's the same top. Like, are we looking at the top three being potentially the same, or do you think that can anyone else come from the back end? Can anyone do a Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, and come from 9th or 10th? I mean, that's. I guess Regan's not there, and Antonio probably he probably couldn't jump up there. But Like Krizo's out.
I think as fans, we always want to have hope that that's possible. And there's a lot of great guys that still need to qualify for the Olympia this year. So there's always up and comers that are challenging for those top spots. As a fan, removing myself as a competitor, I'm hopeful that there's more guys that's just going to make the Olympia more exciting. Realistically, I do feel like Hadi and I have a great rivalry right now. I think it's going to be really exciting for both of us to level up this year. But I think it's really exciting to see what's going to happen with like the Nick Sampson rivalry. That's been ongoing for a couple of years. You know, I cracked a joke at the Olympia battle about a battle for third, but
they didn't like that very much, I don't think.
Whatever. You're the champ. You can say that. You earned the right to say that.
Ronnie Coleman said I was smoking crack.
I know, right? He said that on like a public audience. That wasn't behind
TV.
But realistically, you know, like they say Nick's third best bodybuilder in the world. That's what they've been saying all year. Sampson got third last year, and they had a close rivalry for the last couple of years. So I know they have both improved, and I think that's going to be exciting to watch because that is. So what's cool about that as a fan myself, Hadi and I have some similarities and some differences, but we're not totally apples and oranges, I don't think. Or would you say? I wouldn't say we're apples and oranges. Whereas
structurally, you guys are.
That's what I'm saying.
Pretty close to the point. You're not Sampson versus you.
Well, that's what I was about to say. It was Sampson versus Nick. Those are true apples and oranges. Yeah. That's what makes me excited to see that, and then maybe whoever else might be able to come up. Like you mentioned,
Jack.
Well, you also mentioned Hunter too.
Yeah, Hunter's looking.
Andrew's improving. Hunter's improving, and so that's really cool to see that. And then who knows who else could come up and challenge those guys? But that's what I see this year. We'll find.
I mean, you were at prejudging last year, and he texts me, says Derek's like.
It's
that's not what he said a couple episodes ago.
No, I going into the first year that you did open. Jay wasn't at prejudging, and when you came out, I texted him and said, "Derek's the real deal."
Thank you, man.
But last year you also told me too.
Look, I'm one person's opinion, but the two of you,
So now
it is apples and oranges.
Now I'm here on the podcast.
It is apples and oranges. I mean, my personal opinion.
Him and Hadi?
No. I had Hadi winning last year. Yeah. That's me personally. Yeah.
For what? Only because
from the back you obviously dominated, but from some of the other shots I thought he was better. And I always looked at it as they always said, the champion has to get knocked out. I didn't see him getting knocked out.
But that's saying what we're saying.
Yes.
Because it's not like it's already.
Here's the thing.
But you winning, I don't have a problem with.
So you were asking me earlier about, how I felt about like the hate and the love and all this stuff. I respect what you just said. Yeah. I respect the fact that you said, I have my opinion, and this is how I feel. You winning, I'm cool with it because the judges saw that, and when a lot of people saw that, I'm cool with people's opinions being differing. What I'm not cool with is someone saying, oh, Hadi, something negative, Derek, something negative, whatever. That's what I can't stand. I can't stand it when people just constantly are bashing the physiques that are the best in the world, man.
I think, listen, either way, I'm happy for both you guys. Right. I don't have a super deep relationship, but I'm a fan of both you guys. And like Hadi showed up at the Arnold and it was like kind of lights out for everybody, right? Is your shape better? Probably. Okay. Does he have conditioning better in certain areas on the front? Yes. But from the back, like you win. Yeah. Whatever happens after that, you can't deny it. Like there's no better visual of like, okay, how do you deny this, right? Yeah. And I know there was like, oh, well, the lats, but dude, it's just a whole combination. How do you lose anything from the back, right? There's still quarter turns, and the side shots is where he had a better leg. And
hey, I want to ask you something here in a minute, but I was just thinking, you talked about 2022. I felt like that was like it was almost my Jay Cutler moment, because when I came out and did the front relaxed and the front double bicep, literally it sucked the air out of them.
Yeah, I was in the front row.
It was incredible. I could hear it from the stage. It was the most epic thing I've ever experienced in my life. beyond going to a concert, to a sporting event, me coming out was like, holy crap, what is like, it was insane. So how did it really feel for you with 09 quad stomp? Like,
I mean, listen, man, I walked out and, first of all, I walked out and you see, like, I walk and I had this whole thing where I'd stop and I'd kind of just like, all right, motherfuckers, I'm here, So I'd stop and I'd just kind of make eye contact. That was the important thing. Eye contact is really important with the audience, even though you're not looking at anyone because the lights are so bright. That's one thing I would tell. I would never tell, like, Samson walks out with his head down. Fuck that. Like, you need to walk out like, I command this shit, right? This is, and I'm giving you some advice. I'll always have that forward connection. So when I walked out and I went through and I could see everyone's look was like, oh, shit, And I was just like, this is my time. But I felt so full. Like, I felt like when I hit shots for the first time ever, I wasn't like there was nothing, when you're depleted and water and you don't feel like that.
I know.
And when I hit those shots and like the crowd response but I remember taking my clothes off backstage before I even went out there for that. People were like, what the? Who was actually the most like standing there in awe? Tamer and Tarek. Really? And you can ask Tarek about it because you have a communication with him. Yeah. He just couldn't believe it. And he's telling Hani, oh my God, bro, what the? Oh my God. And it was,
I love it.
And Phil was really touted that year. Like, I'm like, Phil, he's winning this thing because he was looking, we guessed, was it Dexter's like 9 weeks out?
He was so put together.
And he was just really put together. And I thought he could have won the year Dexter won.
Oh,
he got third.
Yeah.
And I just think he got the curse of like, oh, it's your first Olympia. So like he came out of the gate and he got third in his first, which you got second your first, which is amazing. Yeah. And I thought he could have really done well. But when I saw him and I'm like, and we were working with Hani and listen, I was beat down, dude. I was a beat down dog because you don't understand how.
I thought you mentioned from the training that
you don't know how disrespected I was. You remember, nobody thought I was going to win. So when all these guys, after I won, like, I knew you could do it, buddy. Dude, Phil Heath sat on my podcast and said it really hurt me because these guys would talk so much shit. And then they see your face and they'd be like, hey, man, and Phil's like, motherfucker, you were just telling me over theirs, So, like, it changed my whole mindset on how I kind of, like, receive people's opinions and everything else. And that's why it's really hard for me to sit on this podcast and I don't like to criticize anyone, but I have opinions. And it's usually the opinions like, hey, this is what it is. But, Tyler hated the fact that we comment, you have to knock the champ out. But how many times did you hear that in your life?
I've heard it for 20 years.
You heard two things. Olympias are won from the back, and you have to knock the champ out. So if from the back you won, but you got to knock the champ out, and it's like, okay, well, here's why. Maybe you thought you did that. And listen, it's okay if you sit here and said, you know what? I fucking knocked him out. Like, I saw myself dominating, but you have to be realistic too, right? 2022, I had people saying that, oh, I could have had you winning. I had you winning, and I said, no, I think you can definitely make that compelling argument, but I think Hottie rightfully won in 2022. And that's kind of how I felt in 2023. I felt like as close as people say it wasn't, if that makes sense. Like, you can definitely make an argument both ways. So yeah, it was close, but I felt pretty strong walking away. And if you go back and you think about that night, Saturday night, at the event, at finals, everybody was saying, yeah, Derek won. His back shots were lights out. He improved all over. Like, he was the rightful champion. And then with, Hottie walking off stage, and then a lot of his fans kind of jumped on board to support him. And then all these different media channels started picking things up, and different people started, saying things that have a voice in the bodybuilding world. There started becoming this narrative that was changing constantly. Every day or two, the narrative was changing to something different. And then we got to the point where it was like, well, I don't know, Hottie, So I remember going back to that night, and it was a clear cut, like, you won, champ, to, well, I don't know, maybe I had Hottie winning now. So I don't know. I find it interesting that the narrative started to change after a few days. You know, a couple.
Well, that's what 24 is going to bring, man. Slam the door, and you lock yourself, and you're always going to have those people with opinions. I mean, everyone has their physique.
That's another thing you said earlier. Is you said there's a lot of hate and a lot of love. Well, I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, I understand that there's
I hate saying the word hate because it's not hate. It's just negativity towards belief. I believe, or,
it's just going against you a little bit, right? So realistically, man, the way I see things is like, this isn't any industry, this isn't anything at all. But the people that talk the loudest and talk the most are the ones with the negative opinions. So really, I find it to be such a small group. When I go to these expos, dude, and I see people all the time coming in and out of the gym, or I meet people everywhere now, all like just in the most randomest places, walking in the grocery store, taking a picture at the airport, this place, that place. And there's so much support, so much love, and so much positivity that I feel, but those people aren't behind a keyboard, saying these things. So I feel that the what you're hearing a lot of times comes from a small group from those negative comments, and really it's not as much as it seems to be. I really feel like there's more true support than there is this so-called hate.
I felt that way too.
I was telling him on the way here, I love going to a show where I have zero skin in the game. Like, I don't have an athlete in the show, where you can just watch it as a fan, and whoever wins, you're just happy for them.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the best, because all of us can be biased. No matter what we can say, we all are biased if we have a relationship with somebody up there, unless they just shit the bed.
Also, too, I was going to mention this earlier because you were asking me and we started talking about something else. I'll ask you first, do you ever feel like the social media and the traveling and all this stuff can be overwhelming?
It can, yeah. That's why I have a great team.
Yeah. Well, do you filmed some when you were competing? Do you think you would have been doing this much when you were competing?
No, I wouldn't have. I would have been terrible at it, but unless I just had someone like you mentioned just there as a fly on the wall type thing. I don't think you being vocal in the gym is being outside the gym is I think I did a decent job of that. I think that's really where I built my fan base, is showing my home life with the dogs and outside things, going to the grocery store. And I mean, now of course you have all these different things that you do on a day-to-day basis, and especially now like I mentioned, you being a family man too. I think it's really important. I think it's necessary. But look at the younger generations coming up. Like I'm going to compare the classic guys, because those guys seem to be more social media driven in a sense, like the YouTubes. And I don't know how much you really need to do, but you still need to showcase those. And it really helps, like you mentioned, for the sponsorships. I mean, you have a long list of sponsors between, the Evogens, the TLFs, Megafits, and I mean, the list goes on, right? I mean, it doesn't stop. So that's your brand, right? You're building the brand and building the legacy, but at the same time, you have to have some great people behind you, like you mentioned. Absolutely. Maybe you weren't prepared for that, but it seems like now all those things will click. And for example, even when I travel and I do it, like he handles a lot of hey, film this, or saw when we were at FIFO.
Yeah. Well, because the reason I asked that, because you guys are constantly filming. You got Jay walking, you got the podcast.
I have a lot of different people, and this is how many we've done. We've done 3 this week already.
Jeez. And
we try to limit things to once a week releases. And even now YouTube, I'm doing a compilation of a vlog type and putting it in one launch each week, and it's longer version, because it's a little tricky with algorithms, and that I'm not up to speed on a lot of that. I have a lot of younger guys to do it, but I'm also doing TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. I do Facebook Lives because I have a huge Facebook following, and that's my demographic, right? I'm a little older, so there's just a lot of wheels to it, and I think that is important. But I think you're doing an amazing job, man. And remember, you have one job at task, and that's to win, and to win big.
Yeah,
and that's what we're excited for October.
Oh man, I'm ready to go. It's time. I'm itching.
I like it just because it's here. I can sleep in my own bed.
So before we wrap up,
So
will you spend a little time in Las Vegas prior to the show? Will you try to dial in the last week here?
Yeah. Usually I like to get in 5 days before, up to 7 days before. Usually about 5 days before I like to get in. So that way...
How was that Conrad Hotel, bro?
Oh, it's nice, man. Yeah. Bro, this is what they've been open for 3 years now. It's super clean, super nice, really upscale. So I didn't get to see the actual like stage theater or whatever, but they said it's like next level. I'm excited, man.
Are you going to spend some time out in Dallas, or are you going to have Ronnie come to you?
Oh, he's coming to me.
Yeah, we used to battle. Like,
I'm Mr. Olympia now. He has to come to me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, he was just asking me yesterday. Like,
I saw Chris was there yesterday.
Yeah. He's asking me if I got some time to come out here soon. So, yeah, I definitely like to go out to Dallas to see him a couple times before the Olympia. You know, if my gym's up and going, maybe I can get him to come out and see me closer.
Well, hopefully, if you have an event there, we can eventually get down there.
I'd love for you.
They've been asking me to come to Tampa each year, Tampa Pro. You know, it's always on my birthday every year.
Yeah.
So, you know, one of these times would definitely, I'm sure once you get up established, not this year, next year.
Yeah, next year.
I would love to pop out there.
Yeah, just give us a heads up and we'll
do I need to shut down the gym for you? Or?
No.
Yeah, you do, man. You won't trade. No, just give us a heads up so we can help bring people there.
Yeah.
Anytime someone in the industry does something, we do our best to support it. We can't always, but if we can, we always do our best.
Yeah, I see you guys everywhere, always supporting. So, no, thank you. That means a lot. And I don't know when like our grand opening will be. I'm not sure about that. Right now, it's just like, let's get the equipment there. Let's get the build out done. That way I can train for the Olympia and just focus on that. And then we'll figure out all the other stuff at the end of the year.
Who do you want to shout out before we go?
Evogen Nutrition, MegaFit Meals, TLF Clothing and Apparel, Iron Rebel Lifting Gear, and newest New Tech equipment. It's the best. I'm telling you, man. It really is. I'm very.
I listened to him, Milos.
Yeah.
Everybody who was talking about it. Oh, Seth was talking about it.
Seth was like, I want to go check it out. I said, well, let me know. I'll take you over. The gym's 2 miles.
Awesome.
It's a mile from my
it's
a mile from my house, so it's easy to go to.
So I think like
we know the color combination yet.
It's gonna be blacked out. I'm not gonna tell you what the theme of the gym's gonna be like, but it's the equipment's gonna be blacked out. It's gonna be really dope.
No guy did this green, like his truck. Yeah, same as. And what is it over here? Yellow or
yellow?
Yeah. No, I'm really grateful to be supported by such great companies, such great people. It's really important to me. Like I get a lot of opportunities that come my way. Praise God. I really have to believe in not just like the product or whatever it is that I'm endorsing, but like the people behind it too. And so I'm really grateful that I have really good support from the companies I just mentioned. So, yeah.
Well, you're in the driver's seat, man. You're going to be the highlight of our conversations over the next few months, and
I'll be listening.
Well, I know
I'm gonna wait and see if his opinion changes at all. From me being on the podcast,
you know what we do. We never make predictions, because people get so butthurt. But also, there's a million variables that can happen.
Yeah,
I've seen people look. Yeah. I talked about this. Sean Roden, the year before he won, he looked exactly the way he did when he won. Something happened 30 minutes before he went on stage.
Easy,
and he looked different. After that, I was like, I'll never make a prediction, ever.
So I was blown away when Sean Roden told me, like, I filmed him for my channel. He's like, I'm winning the Olympia. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty bold statement, And then, of course, he won. So it was like, man, he gets, he was.
I remember that interview. He's like, I just don't give a.
Yeah, he didn't care. But that's how you got to go in, man.
No, so I feel like, I know we're trying to wrap up here and I got to get to the airport, but, I've been asked a lot of times about, like, the pressure, right? And oddly enough, I don't know how you felt, but with me, when I won the Mr. Olympia last year, I knew if my name was called, that was history in the books. First 2-division Olympia champion ever, right? And 18th Mr. Olympia of all time. And so I think there was more pressure going into the last couple of years of wondering, is this ever going to happen? And will I ever win the Mr. Olympia, even one time? And so now, like, that pressure, that weight's been lifted off of me, that now it's like, I just get to have fun. It's almost more motivating to me that I get to go in and improve on what, we've done so far and built as a physique, that there's no question, like, is my name going to be written as a Mr. Olympia or not? Will I ever solidify that champ status? It's like, I just want to continue to do this for as long as I possibly can.
You're the youngest, I think, since Lee Haney.
Quite possibly.
No, didn't Lee Haney retire at 31?
Yeah, no, he did.
He did. No, but I think Dorian Yates, he was 37 when he retired, so he might have, when he won his first, he might have been.
30.
When did
But Ronnie Coleman was 32 or 30, he might have been 31, but you were 30, so I think you were the youngest since
How old is Arnold?
He was 22, I think, when he won his first. But that was that was a different era, you know. The guys weren't they're making a living as bodybuilders. The competition maybe wasn't as much, but so I didn't even think about that. You're one of the younger guys. I love that because when you say you're the first guy that can sit on this podcast as a champion, as a winner, and say I'm going to do this for years. I mean, Nick told us the same thing, but Nick is just around the same age, you know.
And also too, like, you know, there's like we talk about the criticism of the physiques and stuff. So Derek can improve here. Well, that's great. I won the Mr. Olympia and I can still improve.
You're not maxed out. Like,
that's great. I love that, you know.
No one's saying like you're maxed out, right?
Right.
I think Hadi, if anything, like, I mean, he's a little older too, but I mean, where does he go with his, I mean, he's already like grainy hard and he's got, I mean, is he really going to get bigger?
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see, man.
15 weeks. Improvements mean it gives you good position on the Olympia stage, but we're so happy you came on, man. Thanks for making time for us, man. It was really, I know it was kind of last minute. And
literally it was.
Like,
2 days ago.
Yeah.
I can't wait for October. Is it October 12th? What is it?
Second.
It's like, yeah. Let's crush it, man. All the best.
Appreciate you.
Congratulations.